Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about 4 different skills in Pathfinder 2e that I have some mild issues with. While my issues aren't game-breaking or anything, I really do think that the magical skills that are associated with a magical tradition share a common issue between them. Don't get me wrong here, Arcana, Nature, Occultism, and Religion are all pretty great skills. However, they have little direct use in combat outside of using the Recall Knowledge action. Now, yeah, this is likely going to be a little bit less of an issue once the remaster comes out, seeing as Recall Knowledge is going to be clarified in the remaster. So it's going to be a bit more useful. Unfortunately, making Recall Knowledge more reliable doesn't really address my main issue with the magical skills, which is that if you specialize in, one of the magical skills, there isn't really a way to use them reliably in combat, because sometimes you're just not going to be fighting things that you can use, religion to recall knowledge on. And if you're not fighting one of those enemy types, then you're kind of out of luck. As a point of comparison, let's take a look at acrobatics and athletics. Using acrobatics to get into a flank or get past someone who's blocking your path is a really fun way to use the skill in a fight, and actually every use of athletics is combat relevant. That means that if you specialize in either skill, you're rewarded with being able to use those skills to solve problems inside and outside of combat, rather than them just being good for one or the other. By comparison, there's basically no use for the magical skills during initiative. Really, the only ones that I can think of are the Recognize Spell Reaction and a couple level 7 religion feats that are only usable if you worship a deity. If you're looking to spice up your options in combat, or trying to optimize for combat, these skills often just aren't super appealing because they don't provide as many cool and shiny actions as other skills that are always available to you. Of course, the magical skills are almost required outside of combat. Identifying items is incredibly important since, you kind of actually need to know what your loot is. The general trend appears to be that magical skills are useful, if kind of boring, outside of combat, and that they just don't really have uses in combat. The main reason why I've seen people increase their proficiency in these skills is because it makes sense for their character, and because being able to recall knowledge and identify items is incredibly useful. While that's still nice, it's a far cry from people increasing intimidation or athletics or a wide variety of other skills because of how awesome the feats those skills provide are, or how cool, it makes their characters. I'm not certain exactly what I'd pick as a solution for this, or if there is a definitive solution. But I do know that there's a one category of skill feats that could really use some extra options. As of right now, the main ways that I can think of to actually help out your spellcasting friends using skills is demoralizing people with intimidation or insulting them with Bon Mo. Bon Mo in particular stands out, as it's basically the only way in the entire game to decrease a creature's saving throw DC at range using a skill, and just being able to do it as much as you want. And it only decreases will DCs. And there's nothing remotely similar outside of maybe one feat that's a catfolk specific feat that can reduce fortitude or reflex saves. And that seems like an area that magical skills could take advantage of and step in and make it a little bit of a niche. Decreasing a creature's saving throw is predominantly going to be useful for magical characters, which is why I kind of feel like it should be associated with these skills, or at least it would fit in. Seeing as people are still concerned about the effectiveness of spellcasters, I think that adding a low-level skill feat or 2 or 3 that lets you debuff a target using a magical skill to make them more susceptible to spells in particular would be really interesting, like a way to make someone flat-footed against particularly spell attacks, or cursing them with momentary bad luck that makes reflex saves harder against a particular type of spell. Also, it actually gives spellcasters a really good reason, and spellcasters, of course, who aren't witches, wizards, or maguses, a reason to want to be good at the skill that is associated with their magical tradition. Because right now, there isn't a lot of those reasons really out there. I know that this is probably a niche problem, and that the solution that I put forward isn't all-encompassing or anything, but magical skills stand out to me as an anomaly. They're skills directly associated with entire magical traditions, but they don't really come with anything that can directly help you in a fight. Like, you're saying that a fighter who has a legendarily good understanding of occultism can't use that skill in a fight at all? The magical skills are certainly still very useful. I just would like to see a bit more options for using them directly during combat. Thanks for watching. I'm feeling a bit better now, so hopefully I can get back to my schedule for videos, but I'm still pretty tired, seeing as I worked for 11 hours yesterday. But anyway, what ideas do you have for ways that the magical skills could get a little bit more combat use, or do you think that they even need those combat uses? Let me know in a comment down below, and while you're down there, you can always consider subscribing to the channel or joining up as a member. My members provide me with much needed financial assistance, and they also get my videos early. Regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.